Okay, if I could only recommend 3 books and that was it. I sat down with you and I'm like, these are the 3 books you should read, and then I'm out of your life forever. I can't break down anything else. I can never share other ideas or anything like that. These are the 3 books I'd recommend. These are the 3 books, especially if you're in your 20s, or I guess it doesn't really matter how old you are, but if you're going through life right now and you feel a little bit lost, a little bit rudderless, and you're looking for some direction, some perspective, I would read these 3 books. Number 1 is Meditations or Letters from a Stoic. Okay, I cheated a little bit here because I'm recommending 2 books, but they're very similar. Meditations is by Marcus Aurelius, who was considered the emperor philosopher, or philosopher emperor, and Letters from a Stoic is written by Seneca, who's kind of like the godfather of Stoic philosophy. Both are great for completely different reasons. What I would recommend is that you read Meditations. Get the translation by Gregory Hayes. It's very poetic, very beautiful. It's very easy to consume, and it's very the way Marcus writes this book is as a journal for himself. He's just writing down his own thoughts to himself. So it's very pure and raw, but it's also written very poetically and beautiful. So there's these ideas that will just stick inside of your brain. The reason I recommend starting with this one, with Stoic philosophy, is it will give you a framework to understand your position inside the universe in a way that doesn't just make you feel like shit. So there's a lot of stuff the universe is going to throw at you. Life every single day is looking for reasons to kick you in the balls. And if you let it, you can take that real personal, right? But this book helps you realize, no, the universe doesn't mean anything negative by that. Oh, yeah, sure, it's kicking you in the kneecap, but it's doing it because that's just what the universe does. And what you can control is what you can control, your reactions to the kicking in the balls, right? This book is tremendously helpful to the point where I reread Meditations and Letters from a Stoic every single year, and I've been doing that for the better part of a decade. I don't even know how many times I've read them at this point, and every time I do, I take away a new idea or a fresh perspective. This is something else Anuj and I were talking about, and I just got back from a month on the road. 30 days, not 30 days, it was like 28 days inside of a van traveling around the western United States. And when I got back, I shared this quote. I can't remember who wrote this or who said it. It's simply this: is that we go exploring, and as we explore, we eventually make our way back to the beginning. And in coming back to the beginning, we rediscover our roots. We rediscover home, and rediscover things about home that we never knew before. And it's not just about physical travel. This is like in all areas of life. But that's how I feel every time I come back to these books and rereading them. I feel like I'm coming back home and rediscovering something new. So that's book number 1, is either Meditations or Letters from a Stoic. Both are great. You can't go wrong. That will give you a framework for understanding life. Next is, you need to have an idea of what's important. You need to have perspective about what's important in life. And I think that there's nothing that's more clarifying than death. And so the next book I would recommend is When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi, I think is how you say his last name. So this book it's heartbreaking. It's very sad. Paul spent, I think, his first 35 years of his life, studying to become a neurosurgeon, to be a doctor. He goes through all of the education, all of the rigmarole for that to finally happen. And as he's getting to the very end and, going to graduate and become the big badass neurosurgeon, he is diagnosed with brain cancer. The very thing that he has been, battling and helping other people with, he has it. And he gave a real gift to the world in that he's facing down this death sentence, and he doesn't have very long to live from the time that he realizes and he starts writing this book. But he puts down his thoughts and what he's struggling with and clarifying, as I'm going towards the end of my road, here's the things that I have the perspective now to see are what matters. Here's how to wrestle with this thing that we will all eventually have to wrestle with, whether that's in your own personal life, your struggle with death, or with the loss of a loved one. And that book is just so humanizing and so good at clarifying and putting into perspective what is the thing that actually matters. And if I could give you one book, one gift, it would be to as soon as possible in life, try and figure out that there's actually not very many things that really matter. And you probably already have access to that thing that matters most, which is your health. You have relationships with your family, the people around you, friends. Like, at the end of the day, you don't need more and more and more to stack on top of those things. You already have them. It's just becoming aware that they exist, and that you have proximity, and that you could cherish them now rather than waiting until it's too late to do anything about it when you're at the end of the road. So that'd be book number 2. First book is to give you a framework to understand your role in the universe. Number 2 is to understand within that universe what's really important and how few things actually matter. The third book I would recommend is a book that will help you get what you want out of life, because you have to live in a materialistic society, a capitalistic society, a world where we interact with other human beings, and to get something, you have to do things. And understanding how those exchange of goods flow, I think, is incredibly valuable. And I haven't found any book really that does that better than the Almanack of Naval Ravikant. It's very short, has pictures. What more do you need? But Naval writes in a very pithy way, very easily digestible. And so you can get through this book very, very quickly. But do not mistake simple with basic, with being rudimentary. In fact, a lot of his stuff is fundamental. It is rudimentary, but often we look at it and say, it can't be that simple. It can't be that straightforward. And the reality is that it really is. We just need to be reminded of that constantly and like put in front of us. And Naval just does a fantastic job of creating a philosophy for understanding how to get what you want out of life. And then when you get to the end of this, you realize, he's talking through the lens of material wealth, how to become rich. One of my favorite things about his work, though, is that he realizes that you get people in with the chocolate and then you deliver the broccoli. You tell them, I'm going to teach you how to get rich. And then at the end you say, listen, I taught you how to get rich. And now you get to spend your time realizing that was never what you were after in the first place. And so it goes back to the very beginning of this cycle, which is like, okay, if I won the money game, if I won this materialistic game, what matters next? And you work your way back through the previous books. And so it's this beautiful symmetry. Naval says the reason to play the game is to win the game so that you can be done with the game. And I'm not gonna say that you should try to just say, I don't care about money, I don't care about material things. You have to experience that for yourself, and the only way to do that is to first win the game so you can be done with the game. Then you can go back to the previous 2 books and focus on the things that actually matter in life and your role in the universe. And those are the 3 books that I would leave you with. So what would you add? I'm curious. What would be your 3 books? Put them down in the chat. I'm going to guess a couple of you are going to put the Bible. Some people are going to put the Bhagavad Gita. Some people are going to put the Quran. But what else? What other books would you guys put that you would recommend? Put them down in the chat, and we'll see you in the next video.